Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. We've helped thousands of people save time and make more money by improving their online stores. Check out patreon.com/the Resellers Podcast for thousands of hours of full-length ad-free podcasts and coaching calls. Join our Facebook group with thousands of sellers making the transition from hobby to business. See you in the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. Today, I want to talk about speed being a double-edged sword on eBay. Pretty much every single problem starts from being in a hurry, skipping steps, taking shortcuts. And we talk about this a lot. But that being said, the way that you do things ends up being the fastest. And somebody else in the group posted today that they're focused on doing it right, however long it takes. Even though lots of people are doing tens, hundreds of listings, they want to do it right and they're okay with it being slow. And you've grown yesterday on your call, you said that you've grown the slowest, but are also the biggest. So all these things I think are going to be a really good topic of conversation today, because speed goes both ways. Speed kills, but you become speedy over time.
For sure. I think people need to learn and need to understand kind of what patiently aggressive means. So you have to be perfect first and then fast. That's like one of the pillars in everything that I do inside of all of the businesses. It has to be perfect first, and then we can work on speed. If you're training someone brand new, or if it's your first day and you knock out a whole bunch of stuff, but there's a bunch of errors in it, it doesn't matter. You may as well have done nothing. If it's your first day, or if you're hiring an employee and everything is done perfectly, you can train that person to get faster by showing them a couple of things, and then just them by doing the repetitions will gain speed on their own. So, you were talking about it this morning on the morning call, how, if you're doing 150 items, one extra minute is 2.5 hours a day in extra work, but the same result.
Yep.
Now, people look at that and they go, well, I don't list 150 items, so I don't have to worry about 2.5 hours a day. That's right. But if you list 150 hours a week, you have to worry about 2.5 extra hours a week. And that still means something to everybody. And it's just about making sure that your processes are clean, that you're doing things as efficient as possible. Everything is done with a purpose. You have redundancies when things go wrong, because they will. And I just think that, being patient and being aggressive at the same time, it's a hard concept to understand, but that was the discussion last night where, everybody wants to increase your listings goal. We want to go up by 1 new listing a week, 10 new listings a month, whatever you want to do. But I always sit at the same listings for years and years and years at a time, plateau at that goal, and stack a bunch of profit for years on end. And then when I do make a jump, I'm set up for it. I'm ready. I have the capital to do so. I've taken the time to learn what it's going to take infrastructure wise to get from one level to the next level. And you have to burn the candle from both sides. It's not one or the other. One will put you out of business. The other one will also put you out of business.
So also, Isaiah, a few months ago, was able to complete his listing goal, which normally takes all day, in just 3 hours. But then he wasn't able to reproduce that result for many more months. And he texted me saying it wasn't until he was forced to try to do it faster that he was able to do it again. So he didn't have to do it faster, so he didn't do it faster.
Sure. And everybody can do world record pace one time. Yeah. Everybody could have a career day one time. Everyone can hit it out of the park in sales one time. But the ability to do it and have longevity, like Cal Ripken Jr., the Iron Man of baseball, never missed a game, played every single game. Was he always the best person on the field? Absolutely not. Will he go down in history as one of the best players to ever play baseball? Absolutely, because he played over 2,000 games every single day and never missed a game. So he was able to put up productive numbers for decades without ever missing a day. And there's a lot of people who they get the momentum, stop, get the momentum, stop.
Mhm.
You know, we work on our process and we stop. We have a great day and we stop. And, you know, we get our processes nice. We're feeling ourselves. We have a couple good sales day. We're feeling ourselves. And the next thing we know, we're God's gifts to reselling.
Mhm.
But we have to stay at this every single day and have the consistency and the track record of constantly being able to hit our goal in the most efficient way as possible. And you don't do that without, you know, making a plan and being patient.
I think also when you are trying to set a personal record for yourself, you usually have full focus, and that's not something I see that is that common. I think a lot of people work distracted the whole time, and that's really one of the big things. In the morning call, you'll see people who they're listening to the call in the background, but they're fully focused on their work and they don't take any breaks. I feel like I don't know how to explain this, and I think maybe I wasn't able to communicate it this morning very well, but taking a break in the middle of a task makes it really hard to complete, let alone be consistent every single day. If you can just wake up, do that task from start to finish, all in a row. Or I guess, you know, there's a bunch of single parents in the group that said they can get immediately back on task, but maybe because they have to.
Yeah. You made a good example this morning, though, because someone was talking about that they have a consulting agency, and like when they're doing their consulting agency, 100% fully focused, nothing pulls it away because they owe that to their customer. But on the flip side, we all have an eBay business, but we are not that committed to the eBay business. If the phone rings, we answer. If the phone rings on a consulting, we don't answer. When we do this podcast and the phone rings, neither of us says, let's wait a minute.
Yeah.
I turn my ringer off so this does not get interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do the same thing. If we're going to be committed to our business, we have to be as committed where you're able to turn off your phone, be focused, eliminate the distractions, and make sure that the task is done all in one time. If you have, you know, different criteria where it doesn't allow you to do so, we understand, but that's a different set of instructions. But if this is your full-time gig and you have the time to commit to it, you need to eliminate all the distractions and you need to put the same focus into this as you would if you were working your old 9-to-5 job. Because 9 to 5, they don't let your kid come into your office and talk to you for a half hour in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine working in a cubicle and your kid comes in? Hey, how you doing, Dad? What do you got going on today? I'm at work. How did you get here? They make you go to work because they know that's where you're going to be the most productive. And they want people to go back to the office because your kid comes in at 10:30 and distracts you till lunchtime. Mm-hmm. They can't do that when you drive 30 miles away from your house and you're working on their campus for their company.
I think that this podcast today should be really encouraging for people because you moved the slowest, but ended up being the biggest. And people spend the majority of their eBay day fixing their old listings. This is what people's eBay looks like. After they're in the group for a couple of months, they spend 1 hour doing 10 listings correctly and 15 hours fixing their old store.
Absolutely. They spend a lifetime building an eBay store. They spend 1 hour watching the call that I did on July 27th, and they spend months fixing their old listings.
Yeah.
Happens every single time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I didn't have time to learn how to do it the right way first. I didn't have time to do it the right way first. Well, you're going to have time today and do it the right way the second time.
Yep.
But it's way easier to do it the right way the first time.
The most popular topic, if it ever pops up, how does delist, relist work for you? What are the results that you have from it? And then I texted you, I forgot to bring up, did you try delisting, relisting your brick and mortar?
Yeah, bring it all to the parking lot and bring it all back in the store in the same spot.
No change.
No change. Just bring it outside and bring it back inside. Delist, relist the whole brick and mortar store. Like that as a concept seems foolish. And that as a concept to fool a multi-billion-dollar algorithm seems equally as foolish to me.
And of course, you bring everything outside and bring it back in. Are you going to not have sales that day? You probably will either way.
Probably will, but no one's excited for that sale.
Yeah, no one's excited for that sale. Yeah.
So like eBay could read the pictures. They know if it's a new listing. They know if it's new photographs. They know everything inside of the listing. Craig, he posted a listing and it was getting flagged for price gouging. And Michelle nailed it because on his ruler, it said the word gloves. eBay thought he was selling medical gloves, which, you know, during that time, people were price gouging and eBay locked up that category. eBay could read the photographs. They know if you're relisting an item based on the same exact photograph. So can we relist the item and change the photographs and change our item specifics and make sure our listing is quality? Absolutely. But that's not delist relist. Delist relist in the conventional YouTube sense is going to your store, ending 200, going to unsold, and immediately relisting those items.
And maybe sell similar for us, so as a different item number. But it's the same item and the same
data.
product.
It's the same data.
And this is the part that's why it's a good analogy. When you go out into the parking lot, bring your entire store outside and bring it all back inside. Maybe somebody notices, right? But they go back in and the store is exactly the same as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like
the troubling part is when people delist, relist, they get a sale, a couple of sales.
Yep.
But I challenge you to go through your whole store and revise it into quality listings and report back how many number of sales you get after that.
Yep.
That's different.
And in our group, this is the cool part. There's people who've tested it. They've relisted it and they get around 20% of the same results. So if you had, you decided instead of taking everything out of the parking lot and bringing it back in to get 2 sales, if you just put new items into your store, you'd get 10 sales. So you would get 5 times more results from just putting new, fresh stuff into your store, which makes sense because a customer would actually might want to buy something.
Yeah, new, fresh stuff in your store that people can find. Yeah, if you put new, fresh stuff in the back room and your customers can't find it, no difference. That's the equivalent to putting up items that nobody can find on eBay. And there's items on eBay that you could literally search for and try to find.
Yep.
And there's such poor listings that you cannot find them.
Nina brings up a good example here. People at the flea market bringing the same items that didn't sell last week to the flea market this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a real challenge. At least mix it in with some stuff. You'll see flea market vendors, though, that have the same setup with the same items and it didn't sell the week before.
For years. And I told you, you have permission to come to Florida and put me out of my misery if that becomes my business model.
I sent you some pictures over the weekend. There was some weird on and off rain on Sunday at our flea market. And this guy was selling vacuum cleaners and did not have a canopy. So the vacuums all got soaking wet. And I was thinking, they'll probably be back for sale this Sunday when I go back there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That Kirby will be on sale next Saturday. Waiting for an unsuspecting buyer. Absolutely, man.
But the delist relist, it just, if you think about it like a brick and mortar, I think that'll really drive in why it could bring in, like you said, a sale.
Yeah.
But it's just so different.
And this is the double-edged sword that you're referring to. Delist, relist, much faster.
Way faster.
Much faster.
Yep.
So is it quality? Is it perfect first? Absolutely not. But it's much faster. We skipped the perfect first and we just went for the much faster model. And if you want to go the much faster model, timestamp this, get out your paperwork, get out your notebooks. The fastest way to do an eBay listing, 1-word title, 1 photograph, the same photograph for all your items, no description, everything priced 99 cents, click submit. That's the fastest way to put up an eBay listing.
You could also put NA for every single...
Everything. NA, everything. 1 word and put shirt in the title. Put a picture of a water bottle. No description, 99 cents, click submit. That's the fastest way to do an eBay listing.
The same picture of a water bottle for all your listings.
Whole store. Shirt 1, shirt 2, shirt 3, shirt 4. Whole store. Bona fide fastest way to do an eBay listing.
Yep. And your title, not if you just use the same word, even if it's not a shirt, you save tons of time.
Sure. So like, it's got to be perfect. Then we do the speed, because the speed doesn't work first. Fastest way to ship: grab all of your items tornado style, throw them in bags, and do bulk shipping, and match up your labels with no discretion. But you're going to have a lot of problems after that. And that's what people are doing inside of their eBay business. They're just doing stuff with no discretion, like a tornado, and they end up with a lot of problems down the line. Because when you're doing that on your shipping, and you're just throwing labels on everything without looking, you got no problems today. You got your items out on time. You're good. But in a couple of days, you got big problems. It's the same with an eBay store. You get your listings up today, you're good. In a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, you got big problems.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens when people go through a crazy amount of activity, list a ton of items. You will get sales, and you'll feel like the top of the mountain until those start to arrive, or until you have to ship them and you can't find them.
Yeah.
So I think that the key is you're the fastest, but you don't think about that. You're focused on being the best, and it just ends up being the fastest. You actually, from me knowing you for the last 7 years, you move very slowly. Maybe the slowest of anybody I've ever met in reselling.
Right before this, I might have told you in 10 different text messages, what word? Patience.
Yep.
Patience. Take your time. Patience, patience, patience. People don't understand. Patience. Everything will work out. And by being the fastest, I got to be the fastest by taking the most reps. The most repetitions. The most repetitions made me the fastest.
Yeah.
How do I know where the mouse goes? Because I did the most reps.
Yeah.
How do I know item specifics? Did the most reps. How do I know all the price comps? Did the most reps. And if you do the most reps, you will get faster naturally.
Yeah.
My lister, Yesley, she is probably listed more than anyone else on the face of the earth besides me. I haven't talked to her for a year. Super fast. Because she's done the most reps.
Yeah.
She lists 120 by herself, 140 every single day. The most reps, the fastest.
Yeah.
She just goes with being fast, or having the most amount of time spent doing the process. Photos, listing, shipping, every process, the more reps you can get, the faster you will be. And like you guys were talking about this morning, if you do 5 reps a day, it doesn't matter if you stop for a macaroni break halfway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter you wasted 10 minutes. You're still going to get done at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Give or take 10 minutes, doesn't matter. But if you do 50, 30, 100, those macaroni breaks add up.
And today, the worker that I had that was finishing later than everybody, I asked her how long it takes to list an item for her. And I already know, we had already tested it. And she said a minute or two. And I said, you realize a minute or two is a 2-hour difference?
Yeah.
It can't be a minute or two. It's either a minute or 59 seconds. It can't be an extra minute. We do too many items for it to take an extra minute. 150 items is 2.5 hours extra. You have to be here. It can't be a minute or two. It's designed to be under 1 minute so that you can actually go home.
Yeah. You want to get crazy, do 2.5 hours for a week and then times it by a year. Like, that's days of your life spent 1 minute at a time on your job.
Yep.
I've done those calculations. That the ruler has literally saved me weeks, if not months of my life by eliminating a 30-second process 250 times a day.
So the way I have my inventory set up, it's first in, first out. So the oldest inventory is up front. She's the only one of the 8 people who's curious what the new stuff is. So I'm like, if you're curious what the new stuff is, there's where your 1 minute goes. You make an extra trip over there to see what came in today that you can't even pick from anyway.
Sure.
You've got to pick from the front with the old stuff first, but you're curious what happened today. That extra trip every I don't know, every hour you make a couple extra trips, you're going to be here forever. And it was crazy because I have it set up in a specific order, and today she did it, and she was ahead of being done on time when I left. So I assume her day is going to be shorter than 8 hours. So I think earlier this morning when I was thinking about the item specifics, I'm thinking that items are between 5 and 20 item specifics, almost every one. if you know all of them and you're selling in the same category, there's only going to be 3 to 8 different item specifics if you're in the same category, because a lot of them will be the same. If you only sell in one category, you only need to memorize 3 to 5 different item specifics. Imagine if you only sold green polo shirts.
Sure.
That would really eliminate needing to be an expert in a lot of things.
Absolutely. You just have to be an expert in one thing for sure. So for the people that have that curiosity of, like the worker, she wants to see the new items, or the curiosity of something other than not worrying about that 1 minute on every rep. Years previous to this, you were very curious about a lot of things. But as your goal became more aggressive, and as the amount of things that you had to do every single day, a lot of that curiosity has gone out the window in the sake of, I have to knock this out because there is no alternative.
Yes. If like, I got married the last couple of years. I had my first kid 2 years ago. I have another one coming next month. When I was spending 3 to 4 hours a day editing photos. So, I mean, that alone was such a huge weight over me. And then also one of the reasons, maybe I don't talk about this enough. Before I had somebody taking pictures and somebody listing and separating it, it took minimum 15 minutes to try to sync up the photos and the listing so that it would at least be on the same computer. It's formatted correctly. It's in the right orientation. It's in the right folder. The computer is running properly. All these things that need to work just so it can start, right? And then if somebody doesn't come, then you're jumping in there and doing a bunch of stuff. And so that's like an hour a day, probably, maybe more, because some days people don't come. So the whole day you have to do. So that's why I recommend, if you can, same person does photos and listing. There's never any backlog of anything. And that saves you an insane amount of time. My blood pressure literally went down. And it was more healthy to do it your way.
And if you are that same person and you have no employees, it's important to do it all in one process. Pictures, photos, not pictures, go do something else, and we'll think about coming back later and do our listings after that. It's pictures, listing, all in one process.
And I know it sounds like you have an hour and you bust out 8 listings. It doesn't sound like you're doing as much work as doing 30 sets of photos. But then those 30 seconds of photos sometimes takes people a week to list. And if you had just done 8 every day, that's 56 listings instead of 30 over the course of a week. And by day 7, you've forgotten everything about that item anyway. And maybe they're out of order, and maybe they're buried deep in your phone now. Or maybe you've misplaced the item at this point.
Start losing stuff.
Start losing stuff.
Problems happen.
So if you just do 8, start to finish in an hour, all the way through, and they start selling right away, it's okay. No, everyone here wants to be taken more seriously by their spouse. You have 5 sales a day consistently, they're going to take you seriously. That's all it takes. It's you don't have any sales today. Sometimes you have sales and sometimes you don't, means that sometimes they don't care.
Or sometimes you list and sometimes you blow it off. That might even be a bigger one.
That's true. If they see you didn't do anything that day.
That's probably even more important than the sales. If you say, hey, this is my job, I have to list 10. We talked to a lady last night, Carolyn. This is my job, I have to list 10. If you do that 3 times a week, even though that's your job, and you have a set time where you say you're going down to the basement to list and you don't, instead, you're doing something else on your phone, clicking on the computer, watching TV, just doing something else. It's very, very difficult to take that seriously.
There are probably hundreds of posts in the group of a spouse jumping in to improve a process so they can get done earlier.
Or they see, wow, this is serious. I want to be involved in this.
Yes. So if you are struggling with photos and they see you do that every day, how many amazing photo setups has a spouse built in the group? Like dozens of amazing shipping stations have been built in the group. Like there are, I don't know, it's just if they know what your mission is, they can at least help. If they don't know what your mission is and you don't have a mission, they can't help.
They can help just by taking the kids to the park for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And allowing you to focus on the task at hand.
Yeah.
Anything that someone else can do to make sure that you can have complete focus, that's all you need.
We had the couple that one worked the swing shift and one worked the morning shift, and they would take turns and they would pass the kids off in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then they discovered eBay and now they both work at home with the kids. I mean, that's like insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember that. I mean,
that's the dedication to like, we're going to make this work. I'll take kids the first half, you take kids the second half. And then it switched to one person does a real job, one person does eBay. But it's just that delegation of responsibilities. But you need to be clear. You can't just say it's my eBay time and people don't know what the result is of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything has to be, crystal clear.
Yeah.
The expectations have to be set on both ends, and also the expectations have to be met on both ends. Otherwise, it's very difficult to find any sort of success if once you set expectations, one or the other or both don't live up to those, then they mean absolutely nothing. So like, we do talk a lot about, kind of like culture inside of the workplace, culture inside of our businesses. And whenever you compromise on the culture, that means you don't stand for anything and you have no culture.
Yeah.
So any sort of compromise, something 1 inch out of line, if your employees see that becomes acceptable and that changes the culture. If you nip everything, if you're on top of everything, if you're sweeping the floor, you catch a bathroom clean rotation, you don't make an exception, with your dedication to the business. At 6 o'clock, I go to the basement and I do my eBay business. No negotiation, no compromise. That's the culture that I've created for myself inside of my eBay business. If you compromise on that, then your business doesn't stand for anything. You have to make sure that the rules that you set in place, that the culture you set in place, that is no compromise, no negotiation. Those are the rules and the laws that we live by.
What's crazy is that eBay is a robot. So it wants rules. If you say, eBay, I'm going to give you 10 quality listings per day, then it will say back to you, Roger that, we'll give you 10 appropriate amounts of traffic to those 10 listings, because thank you for making it easier for us. This is the same thing. If whatever platform you sell on, they're just algorithms that are just looking for patterns so that they can, essentially distribute traffic correctly to the least amount of people to get the most sales. And, Tiara is in the group or is in the chat saying her husband built her, her partner built her a shipping station because they were spending 4 hours shipping 40 orders. And they sell a lot of shoes. And Isaiah has run into that problem too. He was like, man, how can you guys ship this many items every single day? But if you think to yourself, there has to be a better way, that's different than what I did when I first started. When I first started, I just wanted to do a different way. I didn't like my way. So any way that was different, I would just try it. I didn't think like, is this new thing I heard actually going to help me? Is moving all my items into the parking lot and bringing them back into the store a better idea than just putting better items in the store and putting a sign outside that says 20 new items every day? Please come check them out.
There's a couple of things there. So like you said, the algorithm is looking for patterns. Us as humans, we also look for patterns. Every single process inside of my business is built on a repeatable pattern. When you build a dedicated shipping station, you are building a patterned way on how to ship your items. Every single item gets shipped exactly the same. When you don't have a shipping station, Every item is shipped differently. There's no pattern involved in that. You have to have a pattern in your day. That's a schedule. A schedule is a pattern. You have to have a pattern with your spouse. I go down at 6 to go to the basement to work on my listings. No negotiations about that. Every single thing that we do has to be repeatable, and it's based on pattern. The algorithm wants a pattern. Us as human being wants a pattern. I've been doing the same pattern every single day for 15 years that I know what I'm going to do next Wednesday at 2:12 p.m. It's repeatable. That's why it doesn't break, and that's why it will fit. It will go on for as long as I choose it to. Second part is, I posed a question to somebody and said, here's the data. I don't want to hear why this can't be done. I want to hear how you can do this, how you can put yourself into this position.
Thank you for listening to the Resars Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, please check us out at patreon.com/the Resars Podcast for all information, all our full-length episodes, over thousands of hours of coaching, and our Facebook mentorship group, which is $35 per month, just about $1 a day to help you get to the next level. We appreciate you guys. See you next time.